See me on the streets, but you don't know me. When you holler, when you speak, remember, you don't know me. T.I. Who? Who cares? It's not returning for Ant-Man 3. What's Ant-Man 3? I have no idea. Don't watch that kind of stuff. Multiple women come forward with assault allegations against the rapper and his wife. So, a little menage-a-three action going on. That apparently is what passes for a man these days. And whoa, that's a wife. Although I do love me some natural blondes and some natural blue-eyed ladies. T.I. everybody. From the, hey, Andrew Cuomo, you're not the only one who gets to do this stuff. All right, let's get on to some real news. Delaware kindergarten teacher is slammed for using inaccurate history of slavery to teach young students yoga moves like boat and plow pose during online lesson. Now, whenever we have individuals teaching this kind of stuff out here doing what they do, how much do you want to bet? Bet you any amount of money. Imagine the race of the individual involved in thinking that they have to do this stuff and that their own mind leads them to think that they're supreme enough to have to do this. So we'll see her below, but you can think about it, and I think you know what you're going to see below. The unidentified teacher pre-recorded a 35-minute yoga lesson for students of the McIlvaine Early Childhood Center in Magnolia. She discusses enslaved Africans' boat journey to the U.S. to introduce boat pose. Is there a boat pose in yoga? I don't know. Did some yoga a long time ago. We'll get back to it when I have more time, but is there a boat pose? I don't know. Let's find out. Besides mistakenly referring to Africa as a country, she also makes it seem like enslaved people went to the U.S. and became slaves willingly. The teacher then discusses forced work of the land to introduce the plow pose. Commenters are horrified, arguing that it trivializes slavery by relating its horrors to relaxing yoga poses. You imagine she had the best of intentions, but just like with Gina Carano, I guess in a different way. Obviously, we're not equating the two, but when you have good intentions with your messaging, when you pick certain hot button issues, you have to really approach it delicately, especially if you're somebody who is kind of out there in the public sphere at all, or out there in a way where the public can shame you somehow and come after you, because they will. The school district said it's investigating the lesson and considers it unacceptable and not consistent with Cesar Rodney school district values. Cesar Rodney. Is that what you imagined? When I first saw the headline, obviously I'd seen what she looked like, but I knew what I was going to see. I knew it wasn't going to be a black queen out there doing the boat pose. Hey, call me cynical, but I just had an idea, and I'm sure we have some idea of her political leanings as well. I don't want to assume, though. The online clip starts a partial world map with the image of a boat in the middle of the ocean, with arrows showing how enslaved Africans were taken to other parts of the world, including the U.S. African people came to America on boats to become slaves. The teacher can be heard saying, "So here's the great big country of Africa." Obviously, geography isn't her thing. They crossed the Atlantic to come over to America, so right now, I need you to get into your boat pose. Beside the teacher mistakenly referring to Africa as a country, it is in fact a continent made up of many countries. She also makes it seem like enslaved people went to the U.S. and became slaves willingly. And here's the map that they're referring to. She's even got a photo or a slide somehow worked in of a guy plowing. Interesting. It's 2021. You think this stuff would have ended a long time ago, said Jesse Welch, a parent of a student in the district, according to the Delaware News Journal. But it hasn't because of ignorance. And this is an educator who's supposed to be teaching our kids. In response to the uproar on Friday, the Cesar Rodney School District released a statement on Twitter that it is investigating the lesson and considers it unacceptable and not consistent with the school values like they mentioned above. Can you imagine you're at this school, just minding your own business in Delaware somewhere? First of all, why do they have a Twitter account? But you're this school You just minding your own business, and then you have to deal with this. Yeah. They woke up one day being inundated with tweets on their school account. They had, 13 followers. And then all of a sudden they're getting hundreds of tweets sent their way. What's going on? The important thing to take into consideration, though, is this part here, once again. Students of the Early Childhood Center in Magnolia. So, Early Childhood Center. So how old can these kids be? 5, 6, 7, 8? Why are they doing yoga to begin with? I guess some form of activity is great, but yoga and slavery? 5, 6, 7-year-olds? I don't know. Given the choice, kids would prefer a game of tag to yoga poses. Maybe that's the real problem. Exactly. More woke nonsense? Maybe, but wokeness always seems to come off in the form of stupidity. Maybe that's how we start equating wokeness to, is just stupidity. What a bizarre story. And what kindergarten class knows about slaves or yoga? Great point. Can we one-up this? Can we do better than this story of stupidism? I think when we've got the dumbest of the dumb, we can top it. AOC slams NYPD's $75,000 robotic police dog named Digidog as racist, saying it prowls the streets only in low-income communities of color. Democratic idiot AOC blasted the police department's four-legged Digidog in a succession of Thursday tweets after it was deployed in the Bronx. Cortez appeared to accuse the NYPD of racism for deploying the device for testing on low-income communities of color with under-resourced schools. She also argued that police funding that allows for new technology like the Digidog would have been better served if it had been allotted to education or housing. Digidog, which was designed by Boston Dynamics and has a starting price of around $75,000, joined the NYPD last year and was used in a call Tuesday. Other critics have warned that empowering a robot to do police work could have implications for bias, mobile surveillance, hacking, and privacy. But ex-officers say the robot has tremendous potential to help fatalities and injuries during hostage situations and other high-stakes calls. They wanted to defund the police anyway, right? So if you take one of these $75,000 dogs, let's assume that in NYPD they're making about that. It may make a little bit more or less, but Digidog on the case now. You can take one Digidog, use him to replace one officer. Oh, excuse me, I think I just assumed the gender of a dog by calling it a he. Excuse me, robot dog. Sorry, I didn't mean to offend anybody in the community. You take one Digidog, and it can be used for many years, and they can replace all the police officers they want. They can defund and defund. This should be something that they're on board with. A robotized police force. And then with that savings, then the money can be directed towards the programs that the idiot recommends, like education, housing. There's a lot of other things that the resources can go towards as well, which you'd think would make her happy. See, that's the problem with an idiot. She can't see long term. Just like with the Amazon thing. She couldn't see beyond what was happening right then in terms of the savings that Amazon was going to reap. She couldn't see the long-term benefits. We work to raise people up, slowly but surely, and keep repeating the process. Don't get me going down that road. I talked about that in videos in the past. There it is right there. Look at that thing. Can you imagine seeing that thing coming down the street? If this really is happening, and let's assume that AOC, being the supremacist that she is, thinking that she's better than these individuals, that let's say that, according to her, that these are in only low-income areas, and assuming these are higher crime areas, because why would they send this thing into areas where there aren't crime? But can you imagine if this thing went into a high-crime area? You know the stereotype when you watch movies where they try to portray the hood, because somebody leaves their car overnight, parked, they come back, it's up on blocks. Can you imagine what they'd do to Digidog? He'd be stripped down for parts in no time. He has no self-defense. What's he going to do? The blue and black Rover, which weighs approximately 70 pounds, is equipped with lights, two-way communication, and video cameras, the department said. The robot is fitted with cameras to search an area and send back real-time footage, and is powered by AI to navigate on its own. The cyber canine can also climb stairs, see in the dark, and run at about 3.5 miles per hour. It was designed for emergency situations that would otherwise be too dangerous for human officers. Interesting. Digidog is currently being tested by the NYPD's Tactical Assistance Response Unit, which deployed it at a home invasion and barricade situation on East 227th Street, near White Plains Road in Wakefield on Tuesday. 2 men were reportedly being held hostage in a Bronx apartment. They had been threatened at gunpoint, tied up and tortured for 2 hours by 2 male assailants who pretended to be plumbers to gain access to the home. Thinking about that Super Mario Brothers movie for some reason. One of the victims managed to escape and call the police. Digidog was deployed to help officers determine that the armed suspects were no longer inside the home. The police said they were still searching for the 2 men who stole a cell phone and $2,000 in cash and used a hot iron to burn one of the victims. Digidog was also previously deployed in Brooklyn in October to help find a gunman hiding in a basement, and was also used in a hostage situation in Queens the following month. There's an idiot who never misses a chance to cry out racism. Ha ha, can it hump your leg? And if it was only patrolling a white affluent neighborhood, that would be racist as well. If she is so well versed in NYPD's shortcomings, then she should apply to be their new commissioner and get things cleaned up. AOC will do anything to get her name in the media, won't she? And that's exactly what I was saying. A poor mind has a problem for every solution. I like that one. A poor mind has a problem for every solution. It does seem like it has some practical application. As I said, Digidog might end up on blocks one day if he turns down the wrong street corner. But it seems like it's more of a situation where it's controlled usage. And like they talked about there, hostage situations, things that are potentially dangerous. If you can minimize the risk to officers and hopefully minimize the risk to individuals involved in those hostage situations, then that's certainly something you want to look at doing. That's a good way to allocate resources, in my opinion. Now, of course, there is that other side of it. For as dumb and disgusting as she is as a human, she does have good points. They say even a broken clock is right twice a day. So there are needs in communities all across, regardless of color. Low-income communities aren't just specifically minority. Low-income communities aren't strictly based on color. You can certainly say that more low-income communities are of certain races, but low-income communities in general need resources, or regardless of their race, color, ethnicity, and whatnot. So there is certainly an argument for that, and I get that side of it, but AOC doing what she does. Everything's racist according to AOC, as I always say, as she continues to lay under a white guy every night. Imagine being somebody out here who's always claiming racism, but you spend 15 hours a day sitting next to and laying under the thing that you claim is racist. Imagine her confusion when she wakes up every day and sees that white man laying next to her. Take care, everybody. It keeps getting better and better. Hopefully your week's getting off to a good start. Be well, everyone.